Hi there. I'm on my way, I'm making it. I've got to make it show, yeah.
Oh, crap. Hey, Diaz, wanted to jump in on this a little bit because some of this has a bearing on my past. Okay? Now, I am a Christian as well, although you might well feel that I would be one of those that would go to hell. Because my Christianity is not conventional. For example, I don't believe that Jesus was God incarnate. I believe Jesus was fully human. Basically, if God walks on water, big deal. If a man walks on water, now they're something to be impressed about. But if God walks on water, or turns water into wine, or heals people, big deal. He created the universe, so what? It's parlor tricks for God. But for a man to do those things, then it becomes impressive. And then there's the fact that Jesus always spoke subserviently to his Father, God. If Jesus is God, is he subservient to himself? Why would he pray to himself in the third person, as though there were another individual listening? And how could he die? God can't die. So Jesus was either human and died and rose again, which was a miracle, or Jesus is God and he was just playing. He was just pretending to die. You know, parlor tricks again. So that's why I don't believe. I mean, I'm not trying to start an argument here. That's just why I don't believe that. Some of the reasons I don't believe that Jesus is God incarnate. Now, Bible thumping is what drove me away from God. I'd heard it, you know, and the Bible thumpers, the people that pushed it in my face, were just like the flaming homosexuals that basically feel like they need to push their homosexuality in your face and then demand that you accept them. I wouldn't do that with a heterosexual. I don't want to know that detail about people's lives. That's a private matter. Keep it private. I agree with you that homosexual acts are a sin. I can't say whether homosexuality is something people are born with, something people learn, something people choose. I don't know. I'm not homosexual, so I don't know. I didn't choose to be heterosexual, but was that environmental? Was that societal? Was that genetic? Was that what? I don't know. I'm one of those people. I'm one of the seemingly rare people that is perfectly happy living alone. I don't need a partner. So, is that, you know, where does that fall in the spectrum? Okay. Let's see here. I've got notes written down here. So, okay, as far as God goes, your allusion to the blue wall behind you is a faulty one. because anyone that can see can look at that wall and see that it's blue. Although with your editing skills, who knows? But you can't prove the existence of God to anyone. And what may make perfect sense to you may not make sense to someone else. I tend to agree with you as far as the miracle of life and the complexity of life being a sure indicator that God exists. But that's not something that we can prove to anybody outside ourselves. And I mean ourselves as individuals. It's kind of like I loved my wife. She divorced me. Well, it was an uncontested divorce. I granted her the divorce without a fight after a short while, because it was very obvious she was bound and determined for that divorce. The thing you're missing about two parents versus one and divorce and all that is that it takes two people to make a marriage work. It only takes one to tear it apart. Okay? And two parents versus one raising kids. My dad was an abusive son of a bitch. And just a real bastard. Now, he got married very soon after he divorced my mom, and he had custody of us. And we were better off once my mom got custody of us after 6 or 7 years with a single parent than with two parents. So you can't judge it that well. She did a good job. Now, she did get married to my stepdad after a while, and he helped raise us as well. But for the time that she had us alone, she did a good job. There was a lot of discipline, a lot of, expectations of good behavior, etc. There was very little tolerance for misbehavior. So you can't say that single parents don't do as effective a job as two-parent families. It's not that cut and dried. And that brings us to America's youth. I don't believe that America's youth are all that horrible. I see them, and I've seen them for several years now. My daughter is 21 now. I have yet to meet one of her friends that's one of these rude little rat bastards that likes to run around causing trouble. I think it's an illusion that that kids today are worse than before. It's the same percentage of bad kids as there was before. It's just that their misbehavior is more extreme and better publicized. And the reason it's better publicized is because of things like video cameras and YouTube. They can videotape their misbehaving exploits and then upload them onto the internet. And they've been able to do this for years. And some other bad kid sees it and goes, well, I could top that. And you get an exacerbation of that misbehavior. So I do think the behavior is worse than it was before, but I don't think it's a larger percentage of kids that is bad. I think the vast majority of kids are good kids. Now, you talked about honoring your mother and father. That is in the Bible. So is that the father is the head of that the husband is the head of the house. However, you can't just say, oh, well, you have to honor your mother and father. You have to respect the husband as the head of the house. That's not the way it works from what I read in the Bible. Christ was the example that we're supposed to live by. And how did Christ become a leader? He became the leader by serving his followers. They chose to follow him because he served them. Same thing with your children. Now, there's discipline issues involved that you have to raise your kids right, but with your spouse and such, and your kids, if you serve them, and I'm not talking about you specifically, I'm using the word you generically. If a man serves his family, he will become the head of the family. It's not an automatic, okay, you're the boss type of thing. It will come naturally. So, you talked about that video that you made about homosexuals liking coffee. I don't know where you get that, but I don't even know how you identify a gay person versus a straight person just by looking at them. That's not something that I even think about when interacting with people. In fact, Mike and I talk almost every day, and he knows how I feel. He knows that I don't think that homosexuality is right. He knows I believe it's a sin because I'm a Christian. It doesn't come up. It's a non-issue. I know that he's a witch. It's a non-issue. He knows about the Bible. He knows about Christianity. He knows about Jesus. I'm not going to tell him anything new by banging him over the head with the Bible. All I'm going to do is push away a good friend. So, but like I say, how do you tell somebody's gay? I didn't even know he was gay for a while. It didn't click. I didn't even think about it. Same thing with one lesbian couple that lives in the building here. I didn't even think about it. I knew there was two women living together. It didn't occur to me that they might be lesbians until the gossip of the building started. Because I was lending them my parking space for a little while, and then I kept getting this gossip from other people in the building. Oh, they're homosexual, right? They're lesbians, right? It's like, no, but so. I don't know how you tell a homosexual by looking at them. I've seen heterosexual men that are effeminate, and I've seen homosexual men that you would definitely want covering your back in a bar fight. And finally, tolerance. Argent made a good point. And I understand the use of the word because, like so much of the language, it's been twisted and distorted by the PC police. They're going to change the language to mean something it doesn't mean. But nobody should have to tolerate someone else. Nobody should have to put up with being tolerated. I tolerate vegetables on my plate when I go out to dinner. I tolerate heavy traffic. I tolerate things I don't like and I would rather avoid. I accept people as they are. And I try to do what Jesus did, which is, if it comes up and if it's appropriate, I'll tell them what I believe is right and wrong. Otherwise, I just treat them as normal people. It doesn't enter into it. What their personal life is just doesn't enter into it. So, I think that's where a lot of people are misunderstanding you, because my impression is not that you are at all intolerant or homophobic or bigoted or any of that. But there's a lot of people that have gotten that impression, and I believe it's understandable because, and this is my impression, I don't believe that you consider your words carefully enough on these topics before you say them. And so they may come out differently than what you mean. You're looking at them through, you're looking at what you say through your prism of the worldview, and not considering how it sounds to someone who is looking at it through a different prism, and therefore I suspect being misunderstood in what you mean. So, just something to think about. Alright, well that's it. This has been an interesting discussion to watch between Argent and Vital Finds and you and all of that. It's been an interesting discussion to see go back and forth. So, but I wanted to throw this in there to give my perspective as a Christian, who many Christians will decide is going to hell. And, you know, point out some of the things where I believe you're mistaken, and a couple of things where I believe you're being misunderstood, because perhaps you're not looking at what you're saying as others might see them. You know, hear those words. You're not formulating your ideas in a manner that is clear to everybody. You're formulating them from your own worldview without consideration of what other people may consider. And that's where I believe that you're being misunderstood. So, with that, take it light. Sorry you had the trouble with that one guy the other day in the storm, but I would have liked to see the video of you kicking him. I thought it was pretty funny that his best move was to moon you after he left. Anyway, take it light, dude. Just wanted to throw my 2 cents in. Not that 2 cents is worth much these days, but there you go. Take it light, dude.